Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boschman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the numerology and the energy for the upcoming full moon that's occurring July 13th or 14th, depending on where you live within the world. Before we get into that reading, I just want to mention that this is, of course, a general forecast, a general reading. If you would like a personalized reading, which will be a much deeper dive into your own personal numerology, please book some time with me. I would love to work with you. My information is in the description box below. Please like, comment, and share. I absolutely appreciate and love hearing from you all. Your support has been so kind, so loving, so appreciated. And it helps to really bring even more awareness to numerology, and it helps to grow my little channel. And I just absolutely appreciate each and every one of you. I see you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, so we are, of course, going to look at both the collective numerology and energy, as well as for each individual life path number. So before we get into that, I did pull an animal spirit message for this illumination, and we got seahorse energy. And so seahorse's message is all about composure and serenity. And I think this is this is very, very fitting for the energies that we may see during this illumination that may come up, which I'll talk about, of course. But one thing I just want you to keep in mind is if things become challenging with this energy, because there is a lot of transformative energy that's going to be sort of highlighted and it's sort of swirling about. If things feel a little bit challenging as you move through some of those transformations, just remember seahorse energy. If you've ever watched a seahorse, and you can sometimes see them like in aquariums and that sort of thing, they're so peaceful. They're so calm. There's just this very tranquil energy about them. And you can see all their little fins, I guess, moving, and they just seem to just be they're just floating. It's like they're floating in outer space, but there's just this tranquility to them. And it honestly just brings so much peace to, it's almost like you can feel that energy and it absorbs into your own environment, if that makes sense. So I think it's going to just be important to remember that we are not responsible for the harmony or the peace of others. We are responsible for our own harmony and peace. And so whatever we need to do to keep coming back to that center, especially if things are, if we're going through some kind of chaos or turmoil, it's up to us to find that serenity. It's up to us to find that composure. And so I think Seahorse is just reminding us that it is possible, even when you're, floating in a current, right? Or going through an uphill battle, you can find your own peace and tranquility through that experience. You'll still have to overcome whatever it is, but it will help you to move into and get into the flow. So beautiful energy there. I think it's really helpful, like I said, as we move through the energies of this illumination. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at sort of the overall numerology forecast for the collective. Okay, so the energies that I want to focus on for this illumination are that of the 8, the 13-4, the 9, and the 5. So I think this is going to be an interesting mixing pot of energy, to be honest. I get this sense of sort of like push-pull energy, but also very complementary energy. So it's an interesting sort of dichotomy and synergy happening here, that we may feel this and sort of need to figure out how to best work with these vibrations to make them work for us and the good of all. So again, we go back to seahorse spirit, right? Figuring out how to go with the flow, surrender, but then also do our part and take action where needed. It's an interesting energy. Like I said, I definitely feel like, especially collectively on sort of a bigger stage, we're going to see sort of this push-pull energy come out. I think it's already here, but I think it's going to be sort of highlighted even more with this illumination. So right out of the gate, I am drawn towards the energy of the 8. And with this, I'm seeing potential or increased power struggles, concerns of dominance or control, which seems to have, well, it seems to be a reoccurring theme for, thousands of years. but definitely in the last few years, we've seen sort of an increase with that. And we're definitely seeing that in certain places throughout the world at the moment. And so there really is sort of this need to put an effort in to find a way to balance that energy. So anything that surfaces or is initiated now will be working under the influence of the 4. So think of very slow progress, right? A lot of effort and determination and perseverance. So the 4 energy will tear down to rebuild. And also this is 13-4 energy. So this is very like Plutonian energy. This is like tower energy as well. It's going to dismantle what it needs to dismantle so that we can rebuild where we need to rebuild. But that takes time. And again, perseverance. So if a shift in power or control needs to happen, it can very well happen, but only with the sort of dismantling of the old in order to put in place something much more sustainable with much more sort of far-reaching solutions. So it can sometimes feel like the 4 is working against us, but it's only asking us to be very discerning when it comes to where we invest our time, our energy, and our resources. So both the 8 and the 4 are very, very ambitious energies. The 8 sees the vast, bigger picture, and the 4 is the master of the details. So together, these energies can accomplish great things, but they have to work together without one energy being more dominant than the other. So finances could easily come into focus now, including physical resources, land, food, money, goods. Because the 4 is just as prominent here as the 8, that tells me that there needs to be some kind of restructuring in order to build something much more sustainable that works better than the previous systems. So again, I expect we may see some reorganization, some big shifts, disruptions, and dismantling in order to build something better that works for the greater good rather than the good of just a few. And the fact that it's 13-4 energy that we're working with, again, it could sort of have this more Plutonian feel, which is sort of like, I don't want to say chaos, but it just makes me think of like Pluto or Mars energy, right? It's like, well, really Pluto energy where it's like going to get in there. It's going to, dismantle what it needs to dismantle, break down any barriers it needs to break down in order to gain a greater perspective and then build something much better. But in that process can feel very uncomfortable, can feel very disorienting. So again, we just want to think of seahorse energy and find our peace and calm through that chaos, right? Because that chaos is necessary, or again, that dismantling, right, is necessary to not only gain a greater and better, broader perspective, but to build something that's just more evolved, right? And to put in place systems that are much more evolved. So I make reference towards the good of all because we also have very prominent 9 energy with this illumination. So where the 8 and the 4 can be more like focused energy and more sort of exclusive, so to speak, the 9 is pretty much entirely inclusive. The 9 energy is going to look for solutions to benefit the greater good, the we. And so while the 4 and the 8 are building towards a greater vision, the 9 is here to make sure that the focus of that building takes into consideration what is best for all, taking all sides into account and then coming up with a solution that makes the most sense to benefit the all without suppressing or oppressing others, right? So we are also in a 6th universal year. And so again, that which is greater than just ourselves, and we're moving from sort of the heart center, that will continue to be emphasized now, especially with this 9 energy. And again, the six universal year, we have all these energies sort of swirling about, helping us to see beyond our own needs and see how we can come to some sort of compromise, come to some sort of solution to work together. We have a lot of potent energies that are really pushing us to do that. Now, of course, we have free will. We are, sovereign beings, so we can make those decisions. But if the individual does it and if enough individuals do it, eventually we see the collective doing it. And so it all starts with us ultimately, right? So the potent 5 energy reminds us that nothing truly great can happen without a tremendous amount of change and a necessary amount of chaos. That's just the way it is, right? The world is full of polarities. The universe is full of polarities. That's how things get done, whether we like it or not. The 5 brings the change and the transformation and the drive to build in a way that promotes freedom and autonomy. Anything oppressive will eventually fall apart or be broken apart under 5 energy. The 4 says it will sort of take time, right? It's not something that's going to happen quickly. But the 5 is chomping at the bit to make things happen now. It wants freedom. Anytime I think of 5 energy, I picture like this group of wild stallion galloping through an open meadow. And the 4 is the gate, right? So it's kind of like, again, push-pull energy. We know where we want to get to. We know how we want to get there, but we need to be focused and controlled in those movements getting us there, right? Like there's a planning stage to this. If we just completely broke out of the gate and ran free, we would miss some of the details. And the details are going to be important here, especially as we're building something sustainable for the long haul, right? So again, we have very ambitious, focused, controlled, and heart-centered energies being met with this explosive, expansive, freedom-seeking energy of the 5. So again, push-pull is sort of an understatement here. And so again, it's about finding the balance so that we can incorporate all these energies, work with all these energies, and make them work for us and build something really, really great here. Like there's usually, or not even usually, there's never energies present to be worked with that aren't here to help us in some way, even if it feels uncomfortable, right? So overall, I expect this illumination to bring to light areas collectively and individually where there needs to be some restructuring, some more inclusivity, transformation, and independent freedom. And again, the 4 will force us to go slowly to make sure that we get it right. And if we try to move fast, if we try to just throw something together, that 13-4 will take it all apart. It's kind of like, when you're mastering something that takes time, when you're trying to build something that's great, it takes time. It's not something you can just throw together. And so it's kind of like working with a teacher who, when you don't do it right, will correct you. And again, it's the course corrections. And so that's the 4 energy. And so it's going to make sure that we get it right. It's going to take time. And so it's got to be for the highest good of not only ourselves, but of all involved. And so it's through this process that we will feel that push-pull. And we need to decide how we can participate individually in a way that not only feels good for us, but also takes others into consideration as well. Now, remember, we're not responsible for others, what they do, how they're feeling, any of that. That's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is with ourselves. But we are responsible for our actions because those actions bleed out into the collective, right? So things may absolutely come to a head now, be dismantled, and after the confusion clears, then the more we can come together to rebuild in a more sustainable way, then the better, right? So again, this is going to be a slow process. I really want to drive that home because sometimes it's easy to give up on something that we're not seeing the instant gratification from, and you will not get the results that way. So if it's something that speaks to your heart, if it's something that really calls to you, the persistence, the perseverance has to be there. The patience has to be there. You have to kind of commit for the long haul until you see the results. Again, if it speaks to you. So that's kind of where we're at collectively with this energy. Let's go ahead and take a look at the forecast for each individual life path number now. Life path number 5. Okay, so I know that 5s always love hearing about moderation and finding balance, but this energy for you all is really asking for exactly that, because, you know, we've got the collective energy of the 4, but you've also sort of got like a double dose of it, like an undercurrent energy of the 4 as well. And so I do think that you're going to feel a little bit more restricted than you would probably like. You might notice that there's a lot more red tape than you traditionally would like to move through, a lot more obstacles. And again, it's just sort of forcing you to focus your energy, to bring the bunnies back in and really decide and be discerning on what it is, where it is that you want to focus your energy, what that looks like, and to help you to see the finer details and not like sort of skip over them, because 5 energy is very fast moving energy. And so it can very easily skip over a lot of the important information to get to the end goal, which, you know, usually has us circling back around to have to redo it. And so this 4 energy that, again, you're sort of getting a double dose of, is just, it can feel restrictive. It can feel sort of more confining, like you're kind of walking through mud and you want to run, right? But it's not here to like upset you. It's here to help you to focus your energy, to really like decide, you know, where it is that you want to, again, focus the energy. So, and it's working for you, but it can feel a little bit frustrating. I know that. I have a lot of 5s in my chart and I'm a life path 4. So it's a constant push pull. And I do think that you all will definitely feel this push pull energy, maybe more than some of the other energies, because you're also working with your 5 energy, this month as well. So I do think you're going to feel the push pull. Just find your center. Again, moderation is going to be key. You'll find a way to work with it, but just try not to get overly frustrated. So it's really asking you, again, to focus all that big energy of yours, because y'all do have some big electric energy. Focus that energy so that you can get those big results, right? So the more that you focus on one thing, the bigger that you sort of the bigger the capacity or the potential for that thing to be, right? The more successful for that thing to be, the more longevity, as opposed to sort of scattering your energy into a million different things, because then you have a million different little things that really don't necessarily amount to much. So, you know, again, just to be discerning in where it is that you want to focus your energy and what that looks like for you and how that feels for you. Let's see, what else did I put down here? Looking at my notes. So balance is going to be the key, right? So whatever you start under this energy, balance is going to be key, and don't give up too quickly if the results aren't instant. That's a really big piece to the puzzle here. And I think with 5 energy, again, because it is such fast moving energy, it does like that freedom. It likes that expansiveness. It likes to have its hands in a million different pots. You know, it's easy to start something and then not get the instant gratification and then give up on it before it has a chance to come to fruition, before you have an opportunity to see what it could actually be. So really, I would say for you all, for this illumination, whatever you start that you have passion behind, right? Whatever speaks to you, whatever you feel inspired, whatever you start at this time, stick with it, stay with it, stay the course, right? Because the results are probably not going to be instant. I will say that there's a lot of 4 energy here, and you guys are all, you're working with like a double dose of 4 energy. So I would be really surprised if it's like super instantaneous. Be persistent. The persistence will pay off. And you'd be surprised, right? Like if you give up on something that's, that you start before it has a time to, again, come to fruition, then you're never going to know what it could have been, right? And so you're just like, well, it didn't work, but did you give it enough time to work, right? Did you invest enough time and energy into it for it to work? If it comes in as an inspiration, it's something that you really want. I think that it's this energy, this 4 energy, and the reason why 5s are getting a double dose of it is to say, stick with it. Don't give up on it yet. If it loses its fire completely and you're like, I'm just doing this because I feel like I have to, then it's pointless, unless it's something you absolutely have to do, then it's not going to, then it doesn't make sense to expend your energy there. But if it's something that you really want and it feels good and it inspires you and there's passion behind it, but you're not seeing the results right away, just keep going. Be persistent. Focus that energy. Keep focusing the energy. Keep going, right? And see where it takes you, because I'll bet you that persistence will pay off here, because you're working with so much more energy. It's forcing you to look at the details, and it's forcing you to be patient and, again, persistent. Okay. So have fun with this energy. Like I said, it is going to kind of be like a lot of kind of push pull, but nothing you can't work with. And again, it's working for you. It's helping you to slow down a little bit. It's helping you to pay attention to the details. It's helping you to focus your energy. So pay attention to where it's trying to help you to do that and take advantage of it. All right, fives, take care, everyone. Bye for now.